Dubai, it's a city that's just full of contradictions. On the one hand, you see this sun-drenched symbol of absolute safety and over-the-top luxury. But peel back that shiny layer and you find something much darker. This city, one of the safest in the world, is also a five-star sanctuary for some of the planet's most wanted criminals. And today, we're going to figure out why.
So what does this paradox actually look like on the ground? Well, it's pretty much a tale of two different justice systems. Let's say you steal a phone. You're getting arrested, probably instantly. But what if you mastermind a multi-billion-dollar scam? You get protection. And get this, get caught with just a few grams of drugs, and you could be looking at the death penalty. Yet somehow the world's biggest, most notorious drug lords are walking the streets completely freely. I mean, they're literally posting five-star reviews for local cafes.
So you have to ask, right? Is this massive contrast just some big, unfortunate accident in the system, a loophole they forgot to close, or is it something far more intentional, a deliberate design?
Well, we started getting some answers thanks to a massive data leak that kicked off this huge investigation called Dubai Unlocked. And for the first time, journalists got a real peek behind the curtain, exposing the city's most secretive and, let's be honest, often most dangerous residents.
And what they found was just wild. We're talking about these people living completely out in the open. You've got Danis Kadric, a suspected Bosnian gangster who's just chilling in a luxury penthouse in the Burj Khalifa. Or Christy Kinahan, a global cocaine kingpin, casually posting reviews of acai bowls online. Even Dawood Ibrahim, a designated global terrorist, was using Dubai as his financial headquarters. It's less of a hiding place and more like a VIP lounge for the entire criminal underworld. And look, let's be super clear here. These aren't small-time crooks. The FBI has a $5 million bounty on Christy Kinahan's head. $5 million. This guy is one of the most wanted men on the planet. And how did they find him? Not some crazy, complex spy operation, no. He left an online review for a cafe. An acai bowl. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. The audacity is just on another level. So what's the thinking here? What's the system's core philosophy? Well, an undercover sting pretty much laid it all out. When an agent for a major developer with government ties was asked if they take illicit cash, his response was just so blunt. We don't care. It is none of our concern. See? This isn't a bug in the system. It's a feature. It's a policy of willful blindness. Okay, but here's where the story gets really complicated. To really get why this system exists, we can't just chalk it up to greed. You have to see it as an impossible choice, a dilemma we can actually understand through a classic ethical problem. You know the one I'm talking about, right? The classic trolley problem. A train speeding down a track, about to hit four people. You're standing next to a lever. You can pull it, and the train switches to another track. But on that other track, there's one person. So what do? Do you pull the lever? You'd save four people, but you'd be actively causing one person's death. 60 years ago, Dubai's ruler Sheikh Rashid was facing a national-sized version of this exact problem. Should he stick to his principles and let his entire nation die, or should he pull a very controversial lever to save it? To really get his decision, we need to rewind. We've got to go back to a Dubai that you wouldn't even recognize today. No skyscrapers, no luxury, just extreme grinding poverty. So back in the early 1900s, Dubai was actually the pearl capital of the world. Things were good. But then, in the 1920s, Japan figures out how to make cultured pearls, and boom, Dubai's entire economy becomes worthless, just overnight. This kicks off something called the Great Famine, a time so brutal that people were eating locusts and lizards just to survive. Then they thought, okay, maybe oil will save us. But even that was a huge letdown. Their neighbors were sitting on oceans of oil, and Dubai, they found just a tiny, tiny fraction of that. So by 1958, things were absolutely desperate. And Sheikh Rashid, in this meeting in London, he makes this just shockingly honest admission. He didn't try to sugarcoat it, he just laid it out there. His nation was surviving on smuggling. You see, for him, this wasn't about good versus evil. It was about survival versus starvation. Simple as that. Okay, so his nation is on the brink of collapse. Sheikh Rashid knows he can't win by playing the same game as everyone else. He needed a different playbook. And he found one by looking at how the big Western powers really built their wealth. And what he came up with was this simple, three-part mantra that basically became Dubai's DNA. Trade fast, trade cheap, and this is the most important part, trade no questions asked. It was a radical idea, right? A policy designed to pull in every kind of money from anywhere, no matter what. And he didn't waste any time. He took out this huge loan, a massive gamble, really, to dredge the Dubai Creek so the biggest ships in the world could dock there. He slashed taxes to almost nothing. He saw India's ban on gold not as a problem, but as a golden opportunity, turning Dubai into the world's go-to hub for gold smuggling. And then, his masterstroke, creating these free trade zones. Think of them like economic magic kingdoms with zero corporate tax and 100% foreign ownership.
What he built was this incredibly efficient machine, a system designed to do one thing perfectly: take in cash, any cash, legal or not, and spit out a legally protected asset, like a fancy apartment. It was the perfect engine for growth and, yeah, the perfect machine for laundering money.
And you know what? The model worked. It worked spectacularly. It turned a starving desert village into this glittering global metropolis. But that kind of success, it always comes with a price tag. And that led to a modern-day reckoning where Dubai had to face the consequences of its own brilliant but flawed design.
So flash forward to March 2022. The international community basically says, enough. The big global financial watchdog, the FATF, puts the UAE on its Great List. Now, you're on a list with countries like Syria and Nigeria. That is a huge hit to your reputation. But how did Dubai respond? In that classic hyper-efficient Dubai way, they launched this massive cleanup operation, arrested hundreds of people, and seized billions of dollars. And in just 2 years, which is an incredibly fast turnaround, they were off the list. A historic reversal.
And this right here brings us to the final, really uncomfortable truth of this whole story. That playbook Sheikh Rashid used, he didn't invent it. Not at all. He was just following a path that was already well-worn. I mean, think about London. We call it the global financial capital, but it's also known as the dirty money capital for oligarchs. Or what about Switzerland? Built its whole reputation on neutrality, which is really just a nice way of saying banking secrecy that protected everything from Nazi gold to the fortunes of dictators.
You see, Sheikh Rashid just understood the unspoken rule of how global power really works. Money comes first. Morality? Well, that's a luxury you get to write about later with all the money you've made. When your nation is starving, you don't need a clean system. You need an efficient one. The West didn't invent morality. Its own shady, immoral history is what allowed it to afford the morality it preaches today. Maybe the only real difference is that Sheikh Rashid was just a lot more honest about the game he was playing. So that leaves us with one last question to chew on. Dubai's story, it's this crazy paradox of survival and prosperity. But when you really pull back the curtain on how global wealth has been built for centuries, you just have to ask yourself, did Dubai invent some new corrupt game? Or did it just master the old one that the world's biggest powers have been playing all along?